Hello, Wintality here with another build video. Today we are checking out my Nightfall Captain America build. When GGG showcased this unique shield in the reveal leading up to 0.5 launch, I got really hyped because it looked so cool, and after a few days of testing and min-maxing, I got it to the point where the build performs very well and it's insanely satisfying to play. The way the shield works is that you can throw it away and then teleport to its location and perform a big slam. And if you manage to destroy ice crystals with the slam, you will then reset the cooldown of the skill, which is 4 seconds by default. And since we are Oracle, we have basically 100% crit chance. So we use cost on crit with Ice Wall and Green Pillars. So whenever we throw the shield out, the projectile portion of the skill triggers our cost on crit to then create Frost Walls and Green Pillars. And when we then do the slam, we destroy them to reset the cooldown, and we are able to throw the shield again immediately. We also use the new unique maze that guarantees a aftershock from our slam for double damage, and the aftershocks also destroy Frost Walls and Green Pillars to keep the infinite shield throw loop going. And this allows for a very satisfying gameplay loop, where we can use the shield throw and slam as our main skill. This build is honestly one of the most fun builds I've played in the game so far, and it can do all content with ease. I'll let some gameplay run before we go over the build in detail. I hope you enjoy.
Nature takes what's old.
So for the skills and support gems, we are using Soaring Midnight, and this is the skill that comes with the Nightfall unique shield, and Soaring Midnight specifically is the projectile portion of the skill. And as with every other shield based skill in the game, they don't scale from your weapon damage, they scale from your armor on the shield. So as you guys can see here, we have a base offhand physical damage, and you convert 50% of that physical damage to cold. And you also have modifiers to number of projectiles instead applied to number of targets pierced. And you also get added physical damage per 15 armor on shield. You pierce 3 targets, projectiles return to you, as you guys can see when we throw out the shield. It actually comes back to us. And whenever it does that, we actually reset the cooldown that way. And returning projectiles pierce all targets, they cannot fork and they cannot split. And then we have the big deal with the whole skill. It's Embrace the Fall. So this is when we can do the slam when we have thrown out the shield. And this has way higher base offhand physical damage. It also converts 80% of the physical damage to cold. And it has a 0.6 seconds to total attack time. And the impact radius is 3.7 meters. And as you can see, the hits destroy ice crystals. So we can throw it out and then teleport to it for a big slam. And as you guys can see right now, we are using up all the cooldowns here, since we are not actually destroying any ice crystals with it. That is why we need to do that, to reset the cooldown. So for the support gems here, we use Rakiata's Flow, It's not needed for the build to work. If you don't have Rakata's Flow, I would highly recommend you to put in Elemental Weakness into our Blasphemy, or run it like manually cast it. But if you have Rakata's Flow, it's very good for the build. We use Elemental Armament here to boost the elemental damage. And we also use a new lineage support here, which is Uthred's Constellation. So supported skills have less cooldown recovery rate, but we have +2 cooldown uses. So that is why we have our number 3 here. We basically can use this 3 times before it actually goes on cooldown. And reason for this is that sometimes I like to use this skill as a travel skill in between packs, and when we do that we obviously don't hit anything to like reset the cooldown, so it's more of a quality of life thing. And also in some maps, when you have like a bunch of trash mobs somewhere, you might not generate enough energy in cast on crit to trigger the frost walls and green pillars, and whenever that happens it feels really bad to use this and then realize that, oh shit, I don't have the cooldown to use it on the actual pack I wanted to use it on. So big quality of life for the skill to use this lineage support. We also use Fist of War 2, and this is to ancestrally boost our slam attack. We do this every 4 seconds, but since the skill itself has a attack time, and you also usually throw it quite far before you slam down on it, which means that you have every third, like every 4th attack as a maximum is going to be ancestrally boosted. So a lot of people run this build on Titan, because on Titan you have every second slam skill is ancestrally boosted, which means that you can run Fist of War 3 instead to actually boost ancestrally boosted attacks even further, like doubling it. But we decided to go with an Oracle with this build. I like to do stuff a little bit differently, and it also fits really well with the concept of triggering frost walls and green pillars to reset the cooldown. Then we also use Blindside, so this is to boost our crit damage bonus and also get a bit more crit chance. And we have Eternal Rage here, so we regenerate 4.5 rage per second, and this comes from our amulet, which I will get into in a little bit. And then obviously cast on crit. So we use Frost Wall and Green Pillars here. Both of these skills counts as ice crystals, so whenever they get destroyed, that is when we reset our cooldown. They add a little bit of, like, I would say damage as well. It's not much, but it's better than none. Here we use bonus energy too, and we use energy retention. And this is to get increased energy and to be able to have a chance to refund half the energy cost. And then we use Spell Cascade, so we create more Frost Walls and more Green Pillars. We have Blasphemy here, and in Blasphemy we use Repulsion, and this is a new skill for this league. So it basically acts as a curse that inflicts fragility, and when we hit these enemies, the curse trigger an explosion to deal damage in an area and apply knockback to other enemies near the cursed target. And this is like pretty damn good actually. It has pretty decent damage, so for trash mobs you can just pretty much walk into them, damage them a little bit, which we do with other skills. As an example, Living Lightning does damage, and Repulsion kills like trash mobs. It's pretty damn good. And in here we use Blind, so we get to blind the enemies, so we have the benefit of the blind side up all the time. And we also use this to Armor Break, so we use Armor Break 3 and Uruk's Melting with Living Lightning. So Living Lightning is going to be creating these small like lightning minions that goes and seeks out targets. And with the setup we break armor consistently, and obviously we also blind. Then we have Berserk, and this is to grant increased rage effect. Since we are stacking quite a lot of rage, we have 65 rage at the moment. We boost the effect of rage here by 71%. The only downside with this is that we lose 0.1% of max life per rage per second. So we're gonna have to build into a little bit of life regen, which we do with support gems. So here we run Vitality 1. In the Eternal Rage we run Vitality 2. so we regen 3% of our max life with these two per second. We also add Uthred's Omen in here to give it another 2 levels when we have exactly 1 support in it, which we do. And then we have Infernal Cry. Infernal Cry I basically only use on bosses to get some better single target damage. You can obviously use this skill whenever you want to in mapping as well. But this basically empowers attacks, so we get 59% of damage as extra fire. And in here we use Tireless, so we have 25% chance to not count attacks they empower, so we can basically do more of the empowered attacks. We use Fire Mastery to give it another level, Cooldown Recovery to reduce the cooldown, and then Efficiency. Since we are using blood magic in this build, we don't want to spend too much of our life, so this brings down the cost to only 80 life, which is pretty decent. We then use Charge Regulation, and this is to basically get the benefit of 20% more armor while we have an Endurance Charge. And Endurance Charges we get through Armor Break 3. So here we have 20% chance to gain an Endurance Charge when supported skills fully break armor. They break armor all the time, which means that we have a very high uptime of Endurance Charges. So we get a pretty big increase to our armor with this. We also use Freezing Mark, and this is another skill I only use for bosses. You can weave this in regular mapping as well to gain a buff of 30% of damage gained as cold. For mapping I don't feel the need for it, but you do as you please. This will also cause more freeze buildup, so for bosses, if we don't manage to kill them fast enough, we could potentially freeze them and then be killing them easier. So we have Cooldown Recovery 2 here, Cold Mastery, Prolonged Duration 2, and once again Efficiency. And then I have 2 more skills here that I was messing around with. I don't like them that much. I don't use them that much. Refutation is honestly really good. So you spend your ward to gain a short duration buff. You can block all blockable hits, and you also apply the parry debuff to enemies that you block. So the parry debuff is pretty strong. You get 50% more attack damage, and the duration of this is 3.9 seconds. So whenever you want to use this, you have basically a 4-second uptime of 50% more attack damage. So it is very strong, but I don't find myself using it a lot. Here we have Prolonged Duration 2, and we have once again Efficiency. And then I was messing around with Fragments of the Past, and this was to try to freeze bosses faster, but I realized that we don't really freeze them faster with this, so it's kind of a dead skill here. I still have it because I still want to do a little bit more testing with it, but so far it doesn't serve the purpose I wanted it to do. But in here, Elemental Armament 2, Magnified Area 2, Ice Bite, so if you would manage to freeze with this, you gain another 30% damage as cold, Freeze for more freeze buildup, and Blazing Critical. Since we are Oracle, we have 100% crit, which meant that we would have gained 15% of damage as fire. So that is it for the skills and support gems. So now we can take a look at the gear. So starting off with the shield, this is the Nightfall Glacial Fortress, and this is what the whole build is built around. So this shield is pretty interesting because you have a very high strength requirement here, 30%, which is pretty decent block chance. You have increased armor, cold rush, and then you have 17. It can roll differently, so mine rolled for 17% of fire damage taken as cold damage, and 16% of lightning damage taken as cold damage. So making sure you cap your cold res is very important here. I mean, capping all resistances are pretty important anyway, but specifically cold in this case. And the things you want to look out for is going to be high armor on the shield, because this is where your damage comes from. So the higher the armor, the more damage you will do. And you don't have to look specifically for a level 20 Soaring Midnight, because they added this new way that you can upgrade your, basically the inherent skill of any item. to level 20 with a jeweler's orb. So if you buy a level 18, that's totally fine, you can upgrade it yourself. Just make sure that you don't buy a corrupted version with level 20, less than level 20, because then you cannot upgrade it. And then for the jewel, as I was mentioning previously, we get Eternal Rage from this jewel, which makes us save 100 spirit here. And this one has intelligence, +4 to melee skills, and increased armor, and then increased global armor. So this one is pretty much perfect for us. And here we have also instilled Cooked. So we do get 25% reduced armor, but we also get 60% increased crit damage bonus. So pretty decent trade-off. The thing with the build that I really want to mention as well is that it's pretty attribute hungry. We have high attribute requirements when it comes to strength for the shield itself. We have a high intelligence requirement to be able to use stuff like blasphemy and cast on crit. So finding gear that you have attributes on, either intelligence, strength, or all attributes, is going to be needed to make this work. For the weapon, as we were mentioning in the intro, this is a new mace added in this league, and it's a pretty damn good mace for this build actually, since the build itself, or the skill we are using, don't scale any damage from the weapon itself. You can have 0 physical damage on this weapon and it will still work. The thing you want to look out for on this one though would be a triple socket, so you can gain damage as extra chaos, 50% increased attack damage against rare and unique enemies, and gain 5% of damage as extra of all elements, because these things apply to the shield. None of the other stuff do. And the unique thing with this mace is that slam skills you use yourself cause an additional aftershock. So basically guarantees an aftershock, which is going to be double damage, and it also helps with destroying ice crystals to keep the infinite loop going. For the helmet we use a Alpha Howl, and this is for the purpose of spirit. We have a lot of spirit gems, as you guys can see. Eternal Rage obviously comes from the amulet, so that one is free. But then cast on crit, 100 spirit, blasphemy, 60 spirit, and berserk, 30 spirit. Charge regulation, 30 spirit. So, as you guys can see, we have 273 total, with 7 spare, so keep in mind that you need a lot of spirits to make this work. So that is why we use Alpha Howl. This one has a pretty high dex requirement, and that is the reason why we put in this Soul Core of Atmuhu, I don't know how to pronounce that, to convert 20% of requirements to strength. And for rings you want to look for as much flat damage as possible, preferably physical and cold. Fire and lightning works fine as well, but since our skill is mainly scaling fizz into cold and cold, that would be preferred. Once again, attributes. Look for resistances. If you can squeeze in some rarity, that would be awesome as well. So we have 2 rings here that look really similar. Flat damages, attributes, resistances. And for the body armor, you want to look for a high armor, along with spirit and resistances. Armor also applies to elemental damage, is pretty important for this build as well, since we are only using armor, and we are using Giant's Blood. That is the reason why we can have a 2-handed mace in one hand and a shield in the other. So our life is pretty low. So you want to get a lot of armor, and armor applies to elemental damage. So for the boots, same thing here, high armor. This is where I converted some of the armor to Runic Ward to mess around with those 2 skills, which I kind of regret I did on these boots now. I should have done it on other pair of boots for the testing. But here is another important line. 21.5 life regen per second. Since we are using Berserk, makes us lose life per second based on our max rage. If you see here, if I take off the boots, we are starting to lose life. So it is important that you have at least anywhere on your gear a pretty high rolled life regen per second to make this work. For the gloves, you want to look for flat damages, plus levels to melee skills. Plus levels to melee skills scales with the Nightfall shield, since it is considered a melee attack. So that is why we have +2 skills on Amulet and on our gloves. Otherwise, look for max life, crit damage bonus, attack speed is actually pretty good as well. And once again, attributes. And here we used this new rune here, so you can basically convert your regular augment socket into a jewel socket. And for jewels, we're gonna get into the other ones in the passive tree here, but crit chance, crit damage, LA damage, attack damage, all damage you can get, basically. And we're also using a headhunter, and it's not needed for the build to work, but as with pretty much any build, if you slap on a headhunter or mage blood, you take it up a notch. And the reason for headhunter is good for this build outside of the good thing about headhunter is that it has max life and attributes. We need both of those. So really good belt if you can get your hands on it. If not, that's fine. You can work around that. And for the charm, we are using a rite of passage. And this time we went with the bear. So why the bear? It doesn't really give us any damage, which many of the rite of passages do. But this one is going to give us 20% increased max life, which brings our life up by another like 300 plus. We also get increased stun threshold, because we have so low life on this build. We also have very low stun threshold. And if you don't actually spend some passive points, we're going to get into that, into stun threshold, you will end up throwing the shield and then get soft stun, which is going to make you not reset the cooldown, and you're not going to do the attack, which is going to feel really bad. So stun threshold is pretty important. We also have increased stun build-up, which is kind of nice. If we don't manage to kill a boss fast enough, we will be able to stun him and then be able to kill him. And we also get 20% reduced damage taken. That's pretty good. Other than that, we use a freeze charm, and here we use a chaos charm. I am personally here not chaos capped. You want to be chaos capped if you can. But the reason we use this is because we are not chaos capped. So let's get into the passive tree. We are Oracle. The nodes we go for here is the lesser harm, so enemy critical hit chance against you is unlucky. And then we obviously go for forced outcome, which is the inevitable critical hits. So this is what makes us have 100% crit chance, because we keep on rolling our crit chance until we succeed with it. The downside with this is that we get less crit damage bonus for each time the critical hit chance have rerolled, which means that we still want to build up our crit chance to preferably above 50%, to not be able to, or not have to reroll it as many times and lose damage that way. And then we go here for Unseen Path, which is going to create these like hidden nodes on the passive tree. And then we go for Entwined Realities, so non-keystone passive skills in medium radius of allocated keystone passive skills can be allocated. So when we take a keystone, we can then pick stuff within the circle without having to path all the way to them. So here, first off, we go for Guardian of the Wilds. This gives us increased damage, gain damage as extra, plus another couple of attributes. We go up here, so we do grab Scarred Fate. This doesn't affect us at all because we don't run Energy Shield. Reason why we grab this is so we can grab a Bestial Rage. So every 10 Rage grants us increased physical damage. We also grab Personal Touch for increased attack damage and increased mobilization buildup. And then we grab Full Recovery for increased life regen. We also grab these two 25% life regen nodes. And these two, or these three, along with one of high tiered roll on your gear, is going to be enough to not lose life with Berserk. So I want to just showcase this. If you remove one of these, you're going to see that we are starting to lose life. So depending on how much life regen you have, you are either going to lose life or not. And it's important that you don't lose life. Here we grab Max Rage. Since we are stacking Rage, we want to get as much as possible. We also go up here for increased damage. The minion stuff doesn't apply to us, but for 4 points here, this is a big damage increase. Then we go up and grab the jewel socket. We go down here for the crit chance and crit damage bonus, and also some attributes. We go down here for increased area attack damage, increased attack area damage, and increased AoE. So pretty good wheel here. You can also go for the AoE instead of the damage, if you feel like you want or need bigger AoE and can sacrifice a bit of damage for it. We then go up here for some crit chance. We go here, we grab Blood Magic. Reason we grab Blood Magic is so that we can grab Prism Guardian. So 30% of armor applies to LA damage. We also grab Projectile Bulwark, so we get increased armor, and we also defend with 120 of armor against projectile attacks. We then go grab the jewel socket. We go up here, we grab Primal Growth, so we get increased area effect if we killed recently. We also grab In Your Face, so 40% increased melee damage with hits at close range. This obviously, close range is like 2 meters, which is kinda close to you. So when we do like the big AoE and aftershocks and ancestrally boosted and all that, like anything beyond 2 meters of us is not gonna benefit from this. So when you fight like a boss or something that requires you to have max damage output, you want to make sure that you actually slam on top of the boss, so you get the benefit of this node. We go up here, we grab Fortified Aegis, so we get 100% increased armor from equipped shield. And we also grab Ancient Aegis, so we get 60% increased armor from equipped body armor. So pretty good defensive nodes here. We then go down, pathing to the right here for some increased block chance, and attack skills deal 10% increased damage while holding a shield, which we do. But more importantly, we grab Greatest Defense, so we get 4% increased attack damage per 75 item armor on equipped shield, and we have quite a lot of armor here, so this is a pretty good damage boost for our build. We then go down and path up here, grab some crit damage bonus and crit chance. Grab the jewel socket, go in here and grab the strength nodes. We also get increased attack damage here, pretty good amount. It reduces our attack speed by 5%, which is a fair trade-off for how much damage we get out of these 4 nodes. We then go here and we grab Giant's Blood, and this is where the attributes go out of hand. So this allows us to use a two-handed mace in one hand. It triples attribute requirements of our martial weapons. So when you buy this weapon, you want to make sure... Let me just... I don't know why I have a million maps in here. So base of this weapon here is 204 strength, right? So that is with Giant's Blood, which means that without Giant's Blood, that would be like 3 times less. So when you buy a weapon like this, since it doesn't matter how much damage you have here, try to pay more attention to how much attributes it's going to cost to use this. And with Giant's Blood, we can also grab a Brute Strength. This increases our damage by 1% per 15 strength. We get reduced max mana, but that's fine, we don't use mana. We also grab Shockproof, so increased armor, and 30% of armor applies to lightning damage, and we also get reduced effect of shock. We go down here, we grab the Rage nodes here, and Ignore Pain. This is a very important node. Every Rage also grants 2% increased stun threshold. As I mentioned previously, it feels really bad when you have low stun threshold, because you will get soft stun or light stun, which you are gonna end up like getting insanely annoyed at. So the way we solve that is with this node here, and the Rite of Passage also helps, but it's not needed, like this node alone is enough. We also go up here, we grab Sundering, increased crit damage bonus for attack damage, and another 2 15% here. Obviously we grab the jewel socket, and then we go down here to Iron Reflexes. Reason for this is 2 reasons actually. First of all, Alpha Howl is an evasion based helmet, so we are able to convert all this evasion to armor. And that also allows us to use other gear pieces that has evasion on it and then convert them to armor. So you could run pure evasion on any of these gear pieces because you're going to get armor from it instead. And we also are able to grab authority, increased AoE, and we grab polymathy, so we get 7% increased attributes here. And that is basically it for the passive tree. For the jewels, we have a Megalomaniac here that allocates Spiked Shield and Distracted Target. So what you want to look out for on the Megalomaniac specifically is going to be Spiked Shield. Spiked Shield is the node down here, and it gives you 2% increased attack damage per 75 item armor on the equipped shield, plus you get 50% increased armor from equipped shield. So this gives us damage, and it gives us defenses. The other node we get is a node up here, which is Distracted Targets, so 30% increased crit chance against blinded enemies. We blind everything, so pretty good crit chance bonus there. But yeah, if you're gonna get one of these, don't care for Distracted Targets, you only care for Spiked Shield. If you can get another good passive node here, that's awesome. And for regular jewels, we run crit damage bonus, increased ele damage, crit chance. This one has triggered spells to deal increased spell damage, which is like whatever, since we don't scale spell damage anyway. You also want to use a Heart of the Well. Here we have gain damage as extra fire, gain damage as extra cold, we have crit damage bonus, and we have recoup. The recoup is basically like a dead stat, so look for crit damage bonus and double gain. So yeah, that's it for the build for today. I hope you enjoy this build as much as I do if you decide to play it. I'm having like so much fun on this build. It's such a satisfying build to play. It feels really good, it's strong, you have good defenses, good offenses, it looks cool, it feels cool. It's an awesome build to play. So yeah, thank you so much guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And I'm also streaming live on Twitch every day. I will be live most likely when this build guide is up and running. So if you have any questions, you can come down to the Twitch chat as well. And yeah, until next time, take care. See you.